Hi guys! So today I am showing you how to create a set of 3 little fireworks or firecrackers, whatever you want to call them, some porch decor to help celebrate the holiday and show your pride for America. So let's get started. The first thing that I did was cut the stars out of the vinyl on my silhouette machine. I went and grabbed an old 4x4 post that we had hanging out behind the barn. Okay, so now we are going to cut the 4x4 into 30 inches, 22 inches, and 16-inch pieces. And your measurements don't have to be perfect because, I don't know, it's just, you're just having fun with it and creating something cute for outside on your porch. No one's gonna look at it like super close. So if it ends up being 29 inches, not really that big of a deal. As you can tell, I am not a professional with a miter saw. Usually, I'd have Craig do this part, but he's not here. So, I'm gonna do it myself. All right, so I'm looking for roughly 30 inches. And you can basically put your tape measure down and then drop the saw. Obviously, don't press on it to make it go. But see that you're roughly 30 inches. So this one's actually going that way a little, so I do want to cut some of that one off too. All right, success. So it turns out I ended up making 2. One's a little bit smaller than the other one, but good to go. So first we're going to paint the entire board white. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you take a rag and wipe off any dust that might be on it. From cutting it, so sawdust. So get that cleared and then paint the whole thing, all 3 of them. Apply the vinyl stars to the boards. So what I did was lined all 3 of them up, as you can see at the end. That way, whenever I started placing the stars down, I basically started from the top down about at the same spot. You could also obviously use a tape measure, but you know, like I said, I'm not always a perfectionist about things. I'm not too crazy about it being perfect. So I just lined them up and kind of eyeballed it. Now you're going to take the blue paint. As you can see here, I just used acrylic. And you're going to take it and paint roughly a 1/3 top of the board. So you could also measure down if you want to, but you can just see that I basically went down about a 1/3 of each board, painted the entire thing blue. Okay, so I have this nifty little tool that I use a lot when I am doing vinyl, working with vinyl. So it's just like a sharp needle, basically. What you want to do too is make sure that the paint is dry enough that it's not going to smear all over when you pull off the star, but then also not super dry either. You don't want to wait until the paint is completely dry, because then it can grab some of the paint on the edges and then rip it off down. You don't want that to happen. So as you can see, this isn't perfect, but that's okay. Now you want to take painter's tape and run it down the center. I ran it down the front and then the 2 sides. I didn't do the back because who's gonna look at the back? So one thing that you wanna make sure that you do is press down real hard on the edges so that the paint doesn't seep underneath. Now paint the bottom 2/3 of each post red, right over top of the painter's tape. Usually I'll start on the edges with a lot of paint and then work my way in toward the tape so that less has a chance to seep underneath. Pull that painter's tape off just like you did the vinyl stars. Once the paint is totally dry, I would give it at least an hour. Then you're going to take a sander and roughen up the edges and then the sides and the front, just to kind of give it that, you know, shabby chic look. Then you grab the stain brush, a rag, and some gloves to give it that antique look. So I used a light Americana stain, and then I basically just dipped one end of the rag into the stain, wiped it all over. Then I used the other side of the rag that was more clean to wipe the stain back off. The more you wipe off, obviously, then the less stain, the lighter it's going to look. I let these stain dry overnight, and the next morning I sprayed them all down with a Mod Podge matte spray. Then in the center of the top of each post, we drilled a 3/4 inch hole about a half to 1 inch down. Then I used hot glue and poured it into the hole and stuck the rope in so that it had a good, nice, tight hold. Now tie some raffia right where the blue meets the red. I think I wrapped it around about 3 times, and I used some hot glue to glue it down in the front and the back just so it had a nice tight hold. Especially if these are going to be outside on your porch, then you want to make them as much, weatherproof as possible. So there you have it, some pretty adorable firecrackers for your front porch to celebrate the 4th of July. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to see more from us, be sure to subscribe.